Any of you have been outdoors know there's nothing but blue skies. You have a really good imagination. You don't need any imagination to look around and see how lovely this sanctuary is and how much more it comes alive when folks are in the sanctuary. Should I pause for a minute?
Use the handheld for a moment, if you could.
It's just to your left.
Yes, I'm not.
So this is our perfectly imperfect Sunday service. We do our best to roll with things and find ways to adapt. And in many ways, it's our ability to adapt that may be one of our congregation's greatest strengths.
Or just use the handheld for now.
Tech or no tech, I'm Rob Peck, and I am very grateful to see you and very thankful that you're joining us for our Sunday service. Is anyone here for the first time that would like to raise their hand and we can welcome them? Thank you. What is your name? Vanessa. So glad you came, Vanessa. Thank you. Jeremy. So glad you came, Jeremy. Anyone else here for the first time? Hi, Mark. Good to see you. All the way in the back, would you like to say your name? Liam. Thank you very much, Liam, for joining us. Well, it's a delight to have some new people. We have, fortunately, a lot of familiar faces as well. And I just want you to know that whether you're here with us in person or sometimes we have people join online via Zoom, that we are really meaning our own name to be Unitarian and Universalist in a way that no matter what you believe, who you love, or your background and circumstances, you are all deeply welcome. And when we have this moment of having a chance to come together, it feels nice to reach out and greet those of you who are around you. So if we can all stand and just have a moment to say hi with a shake or a hug or a nod to our neighbors. Don't forget Karin here in the front row. Hello, hello. Ah, little switch. Okay, I'm grateful to our ace sound man, Matt, to have solved the problem, which was extremely complex, something that someone like me could never have figured out alone. Basically, a little button that you have to push. But here we are, and this able now to continue. And one thing that I'd like to point out to you is that hopefully all of you got an order of worship. If you didn't, we can make sure you get one. And there are a couple of important announcements on the back. We'll have more announcements at the end of the service. But if you want to just take a note right now, you'll see a few things that might be something that you would want to participate in. And this is the moment where there's Reverend Kathleen McTeague quote that we often use that talks about resting at the forming edge of our lives. I view that as an invitation to stop, to pause, to kind of take a breath. And in this case, I'm going to lead you in 5 breaths. It's a guided meditation that was inspired by a Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. And in many ways, it's our chance to make a little music together because you do the breathing, that's the melody, and I'll say the words, those will be the lyrics. So your part is just to breathe in deeply and see if you can make the melody match the lyrics. Breathing in deeply, I ease my mind. Breathing out slowly, I smile softly. Breathing in calm and collected. Breathing out centered and interconnected. Breathing in deeply, I open and unwind. Breathing out slowly, I relax and release. Breathing in grounded and grateful. Breathing out gliding and graceful. Breathing in deeply, I am here now, fully present. Breathing out slowly, I am clear and I am at peace. Which is a pretty good prologue for Jim to share today's prelude. Thank you, Jim. And now I'd like to ask my pal Matt to please come up and light our chalice. And you'll see the text for the chalice lighting in your order of service. And I invite you to just take a moment to quickly glance over the words and see if there's maybe a line in there that seems somehow really timely for where you are right now. Thank you, Matt. Fire of the Spirit and the soul, sacred flame of kindful community, kindle the connection that makes us whole. In your hallowed glow of unity and clarity, light of compassion and common purpose, twin beacons of humility and compassion, bind our different strands of faith in one long braid. Warm our hearts in a fellowship that sometimes flickers, but does not fade. And now if you'll join us in hymn number 360 in your black hymnals, singing the living tradition for Here We Have Gathered. as we give, we gain. And I think over and over in my life, what I've experienced is that the stuff that's really important, it needs to be repeatedly reinforced. I sometimes think, oh, I got this. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And almost always I learn that the things that really are the most fully absorbed are the ones that I've continued to nurture. So with that in mind, even though most of you are very familiar with our church covenant, I'm going to ask you to try to share a moment together where we see if we can make it a little bit fresh, in whatever way that is for you, that when you look at the words, it's not rote, it's something that in this moment has a particular meaning. Let's do it responsively. I'll read the little part that's underlined, and then let's all say the bullet points together. In this house, we covenant with one another to create a community built on a foundation of love, to work together
to promote equality, justice, and peace,
accepting responsibility for our individual acts, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of the oppressed and working to end discrimination and unjust privilege, to communicate with kindness and support, and to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully and value our diversity as a source of our collective strength, to learn and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. Thank you. So here's where we get to put our words, make our deeds match our creeds, and we'll invite everyone who feels they can share to make a contribution. As you can probably imagine, in a space this large, we definitely do need financial support to keep everything going. So if you can be as generous as you can, we sure appreciate it. Folks will come around and collect whatever you can contribute, and Jim will give you some generosity-inspiring music. Bravo. So we've been reintroducing a custom that's a time-honored one in many Unitarian Universalist congregations, to share a story for all ages. We don't have particularly young people for this story, but I want you to imagine yourself back when you were a kid, how you might have responded to this story. The hero of this tale is a senior citizen from Costa Rica named Joseph. I met Joseph after I was about 3 weeks back from my own trip to Costa Rica, because when I showed up for a concert, friends of mine are in a band, one of the people who was there was a swing dance, one of the dancers asked me, simple like, hey, I haven't seen you for a while. And I said, well, I've been away for 3 weeks. He said, where'd you go? He said, Costa Rica. He said, Costa Rica? My grandfather and my cousin are from Costa Rica. And I said, okay, cool. Maybe next time I'm there, you can give me their contact info and I can look them up. He says, you don't have to travel far. Just look in that corner. Those two people dancing, that's my grandfather and my cousin. So I looked, and they were really dancing. And after the dance, my friend introduced me to them, and it was clear right away that his cousin Isabel had a very bright and lively soul. His grandfather Joseph was short, slender as a sapling, had thinning gray hair, a crinkle in his eye, and a bushy black mustache that made his face look 15 years younger. Almost immediately, the friend of mine who was on the bandstand, the piano player, said, hey, we're going to do a blues. Do you want to come up and join us? Bring your harp. So I had a whole set of harmonicas, and he told me that it was in the key of C, and I reached in and I realized I had 2 harmonicas in that key. One was a Hohner, the better known harmonica, and the other was a Seidel. And for some reason, I picked the latter, and the Seidel came through. And afterwards, the minute that I walked off the bandstand, the first person I saw was Joseph. And he looked up at me, and his eyes were sparkling, and he said, musico, magnifico, magnificent music. And I said, gracias. And then he grinned so broad, it made his magical mustache stretch wider. And he told me that when Isabel was a young girl, he used to play the harmonica for her. And every time he played La Bamba, she would sing and dance along. And I looked at him and I said, that's great, Joseph. I said, do you still do it? Do you still have the harmonica? And then all of a sudden, this bright, sparkling visage turned really crestfallen. And I saw a little tear slide down Joseph's cheek and nestle in his sheltering stash. And he said, lo, es perdido. No, it's lost. And when I moved from Costa Rica to the United States, I never found it. And I looked at him and I said, the old one is lost. But here's a new one that you just found. And I handed him the Hohner. And Joseph looked at it and said, Hohner is good, but it's too much money. I can't afford a Hohner. I said, well, today, which in Spanish is hoy, which goes to show you that Spanish and Yiddish have something in common. But anyway, hoy, the price is one you can definitely afford. It's free. And Joseph shook his head incredulously, and then he reached into his pocket And he said, I must give something back. And he pulled out a shiny quarter. And I was this close to saying, oh, no need. When thankfully some part of me realized Joseph had a need to feel like it wasn't just a one-way transaction, that he was at least giving something back. And thus, my story for all ages has a happy ending ×2, because I now have a lucky coin and a lovely story, and Joseph is reconnected with his youth, and every time he's at the Senior Living Center and plays La Bamba, the residents get as youthful and sprightly as his Joseph Spiffy stash. All right, so let's now do hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. All right, my friend, those words seem like a fitting way to segue to your sermon, so please welcome Rabbi Jim Levinson.
Boy. Greetings, friends. I've spoken before about the prison ministry that I've done over the years. I well remember one of our sessions where an inmate talked about the recovery meetings in the prison which he attended as a recovering addict. And he told us that each of these meetings ended with what he called gratitudes. I'd never heard about this particular practice, and I asked him about it. He explained that so much of his life had been focused on desperate craving for the next drink, that before he knew it, he'd lost everything, literally, including eventually his freedom. His recovery program at the prison required him to keep a gratitude journal, recording each day at least 3 things for which he was thankful. Heads were nodding around the room. At first, he told us he hated this practice. All he could think about was how miserable he was, how he had nothing to be grateful for. But then, all of that changed. Another inmate in our group then piped up. I was in one of those meetings after I got out of solitary. And for the first time, I had something to say. I said, I've been grateful to have a window, to be able to see the sky outside and the light as it changed. I'd never even noticed those things before. I realized as I was saying it, he told us, that in a really strange way, I was grateful that I'd been in solitary. Hearing this made quite an impression on me, and I began to develop a wholly different impression of gratitude. Growing up Jewish, we often offered blessings before meals. Celebrating Thanksgiving, we'd go around the table saying what we were thankful for. We did these things, but I never felt anything like what this prisoner was describing. I don't doubt that I indeed all of us, have much to be grateful for, but all too often, speaking for myself, I take a lot of it for granted. I'm thinking about all the things on my to-do list to get done, the emails that have to be answered, the PT exercises that have to be performed, the next sermon that has to be prepared. And I'm, after all, retired. Many of you who have responsible jobs or children to raise, bills to pay, are surely even more preoccupied. It's only when something happens that interrupts life as usual that we pay real attention. Like, for example, receiving a life-threatening diagnosis. Our attention shifts then, and we can't help but notice that we've pretty much taken for granted that relatively healthy body that's carried us through our lifetime. And goodness, we've also taken for granted perhaps this country that we live in and what it's supposed to stand for. Let's think about all of this for a moment. All of the things that we take for granted. Running water when we turn on the faucet. Same with electricity. Same with heat in the winter. Coolness in the summer. The rising of the sun each morning. What are some of the other things we count on and would miss if they were gone? The Boston Red Sox? Taylor Swift? What else? Let's shout them out. What would we miss?
Lilacs. Breath. Gravity.
The floor.
Donuts.
My car.
Beautiful.
Rainbows.
Music. I'm only grateful for beautiful music.
Wonderful. I did something interesting a couple of weeks ago. I signed up for what's called the 100-Day Gratitude Challenge. That means that I receive a daily email with a day's reflection and gratitude practice. The idea is to spend at least 5 minutes a day doing a practice with a particular form of gratitude. And we also have checklists with which we can track our progress and our favorite practices. One of the intriguing and challenging exercises in this time of sorrow and doubt in the world is to take 5 minutes and make a list of things we love about the world. Among the possibilities offered were music, oceans, silence, laughter, moonlight, and friends. Such a rich opportunity to regain some perspective in our lives. And here's another wonderful exercise. This one recognizing that the root of joy is gratefulness. That receiving joy, savoring joy, and creating joy all emanate from gratitude. The exercise is putting in our calendar tomorrow, in addition to all of our standard commitments, 3 appointments with joy. Then, when it's time for these appointments, to do something joyful. Listen to music. Step outside. Call a friend just to say hi. Get up and dance. Flip through a photo album. Appreciate that joy and understand that it's one of the gifts of gratitude. And just one more. The exercise is to close our eyes for 10 seconds and focus on one experience that we've had that has filled us with awareness that life is a gift. I've been thinking a lot more lately about what I eat. It's partly because of tummy problems, but it's also because some of my favorite foods, and I suppose some of our necessary medications, might not be available before long because of the world situation. Mangoes, for instance. Any of you like mangoes as much as I do? I love their sweet juiciness, and I well remember the first time I tasted one in India, fresh from the tree outside, while I was sitting under a fan in a rural health center. This morning, as I sat and peeled a mango from Mexico, itself, of course, a pale shadow of that first mango, I felt a surge of gratitude just for the privilege of being able to taste this fruit that could never grow in New England, aware that this one just could be my last. Are any of you familiar with a song prior to eating which goes, "Thank you for this food"? Join me. Thank you for this food, this glorious, glorious food, and the animals, and the vegetables, and the minerals that made it possible. Everybody, thank you for this food, this glorious, glorious food, and the animals, and the vegetables, and the minerals that made it possible. So yes, we do need to be grateful to the animals and the vegetables and the minerals. But we also, of course, need to be grateful to the many, many individuals responsible for the food that we eat. I came upon a recent study written up in, of all places, the Wall Street Journal. The study found that adults who frequently feel gratitude have more energy, more optimism, more social connections, and more happiness than those who don't. They're also less likely to be depressed, envious, greedy, or alcoholic. They sleep more soundly, they exercise more regularly, they have greater resistance to viral infections, and, as the Wall Street Journal would be sure to report, they earn more money. And the studies show that such gratitude brings similar benefits to children and to adolescents. They tend to be less materialistic, get better grades, set higher goals, complain of fewer headaches and stomach aches, and feel more satisfied with their friends, families, and schools than those who don't feel and express gratitude. And one more interesting example, this from Brother David Stendhal-Rast. Anybody ever hear of him? An Austrian-American Benedictine monk who's been called the grandfather of gratitude. Stendhal-Rast came to his understanding of gratitude the hard way. Growing up in Vienna, he was drafted into the German army. Happily, he managed to abandon his position and go underground, working to set up refugee camps for the dispossessed. But amidst all of this, amidst the continual bombing and the continual chaos, he came to find true appreciation simply for the arrival of another day, one that simply could not have been taken for granted. Indeed, he tells us he came to be grateful for his next breath. One of the clear conclusions of all of this is that we have to be intentional about gratitude. How might we do that? Well, in the words of one of our creative All Souls colleagues, if you write it, you invite it. So, how about this? We could start writing a gratitude journal and try, during this particularly difficult time in our world, to make it a habit. We could write when we wake up or just before we go to bed. If we do it in the morning when we wake up, we start the day with gratitude. If we do it before going to bed, we go to sleep with gratitude. We could even do it twice a day. We are called not to write about gratitude more generally, but rather to be specific about things, about people, about experiences. So let's close our eyes just for a moment and think about some of the things we might include in such a journal. Some of the experiences, some of the people, some of the learning along the way for which we're particularly grateful. I'm guessing we all can come up with a lot. And in that spirit, let's carry that gratitude with us in our hearts, share it with loved ones, and offer it as appropriate to people, to animals, to plants, to the earth, and to the divine, no matter how we think about it. Amen.
Thank you, Jim. When I think about our long connection, I think of many ways in which I've had gratitude for the way you've influenced me. And I think probably for all of us, what we appreciate, we also cultivate in ourselves. So on that optimistic note, let's all sing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.